By the late 1840s, the westward movement of the United States has become unstoppable. In a single term at the White House, President James K. Polk sees the largest territorial expansion in American history. A treaty with Britain gives him what's now Oregon, and a victory in the Mexican-American War reshapes the nation by adding present-day California, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and most of Colorado. But with this unprecedented growth comes instability, raising questions about the future of the nation.
In the 19th century, the issue of slavery is literally linked to everything, including westward expansion. As new territory is acquired, the big question on the table is, will those become free states or will they become slave states?
By 1850, there are roughly 3 million enslaved people in the American South. Southerners see a future with slaves working on plantations in the West and mines in California. But in the North, slavery is considered a national sin. The institution has been banned in 15 northern states, and many Northerners want to prevent slavery from spreading into the new territories. But there's another anti-slavery group in the North. They oppose slavery on moral grounds and want to outlaw it outright. The abolitionists.
Abolitionism before the Civil War is still kind of a fringe position. So the abolitionists are fighting an uphill battle, a David and Goliath battle of the First Order.
And on the front lines of that battle is a man named John Brown.
John Brown believed that every black man, woman, and child needs to be a free person with equal rights and status and voting power and everything else as anybody else in America. And we are not free until this is abolished.
After a fierce debate in the Senate, the Kansas-Nebraska Act passes in May of 1854, and the territories are opened up for American settlement. Most Americans assume that Nebraska will be a free state because it's located so far north. But the fate of Kansas is not so clear.
Whoever gets there first with the most people, the pro-slavery folks or the anti-slavery folks, they will be the ones to write the rules when Kansas becomes a state. So there's a race to Kansas, not only among legitimate settlers, people who want to go there and live, but by people who want to go and make a statement for their position.
With critical elections looming in Kansas, border ruffians from Missouri are determined to beat the Free State majority by any means necessary.
Border ruffians intimidate election officials, stuff ballot boxes.
And lo and behold, the results show their success. It's an overwhelmingly pro-slavery territorial legislature.
They draw up a constitution, the Lecompton Constitution, which entails death penalties in many cases for any kind of anti-slavery activity.
Opponents of slavery are outraged, and so they actually organize their own territorial election and elect a rival government in Lawrence, Kansas, filled with anti-slavery territorial legislators.
Now, there are 2 rival legislatures in Kansas, and neither one is backing down. In the summer of 1856, news of the violent attack on the anti-slavery headquarters of Lawrence, Kansas, spreads across America. Abolitionists fear they are losing the battle for the future of the country, while pro-slavery activists grow even bolder. Weeks later, an act of savagery in the halls of the U.S. Senate brings the nation to a boiling point.
Charles Sumner, senator from Massachusetts, has given a 5-hour speech condemning the South for its promotion of slavery in Kansas.
The next day, Sumner is at his desk in the Senate chamber working on some paperwork, and Preston Brooks, congressman from South Carolina, walks up behind him and without any warning at all, begins to savagely beat him with a wooden cane.
Sumner is nearly killed. He's covered with blood. He's concussed. He's passed out. But here's the part that just chills your blood. This made Preston Brooks a hero in the South. And pieces of the cane were cut up and made into rings. These rings were worn as necklaces by Southerners.
The beating of Sumner becomes a catalyst for mobilizing public opinion in the North, but Preston Brooks has become a hero in the South. The idea that a same event could be seen in two different ways, it shows that the two sides are no longer even speaking the same language, fanning the flames of the fire even more in Kansas.
After the sacking of Lawrence and the assault in the Senate, John Brown decides there can be no peaceful resolution to the question of slavery in Kansas.
He gets his sons together, several other people, and they decide to stage a raid against pro-slavery settlers in a nearby community, Pottawatomie Creek.
On the night of May 24, 1856, John Brown and his men sneak into the settlement of Pottawatomie.
They go in the middle of the night to the home of several pro-slavery sympathizers who are homesteading on the Pottawatomie Creek.
The first cabin they approach is owned by a man named James Doyle, a member of the local pro-slavery political party.
When Doyle opens the door, John Brown and several of his followers burst in, grab Doyle and his two teenage sons.
They drag them out of the house.
On the command of their father, John Brown's sons hack these men to death with broadswords.
Brown continues to go house to house looking for Dutch Henry, killing a total of 5 people in the settlement of Pottawatomie that night. He never finds his target, but it doesn't matter. John Brown's point has been made.
John Brown, he was sending a political message to other potentially pro-slavery settlers. You come to Kansas, this could happen to you.
In October of 1859, Brown stages a raid on the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia. He hopes to trigger a massive slave uprising, but the plan quickly goes awry. Brown is captured and convicted of treason, murder, and conspiring with slaves to rebel. When he's executed in December, news travels through the country, and Brown's reputation is crystallized as both hero and villain.
John Brown is a necessary figure in American history. He is as necessary as Lincoln was necessary. We didn't need them to live. We needed them to do what they did.